I had this one guy come in and ask for Grateful Dead, and instead of spelling it Gratefule, I did it Greatfule. Still spelled the name correctly, but it's, two different Gratefuls.
Right.
My biggest mistake hiring him.
When I make a mistake tattooing, I just end up changing shops, just move to the next nearest state.
First of all, I go like, oh shit.
Sweat instantly starts pouring out of every part of my body.
I hold my breath.
Panic inside. My soul leaves my body. I get more calm, I think, than I would if I were like doing fine. I get really quiet.
Keep calm like a Navy SEAL and get the job done.
When I make a mistake, it's like being on stage, like you're a performer. You have to just keep dancing like nothing happened.
Yeah, never let him see you sweat.
Yeah.
Who makes mistakes while we're tattooing? We don't do that. That does not happen. What do you mean? Next question.
I try to avoid that problem to begin with, and when it does happen, or if it does happen, I do my fucking best to fix it.
If I have made like a true mistake tattooing, I can usually just fix it before anyone ever even knows.
If you've made it this far in your career, 10 years plus, whatever, you should be able to fix your own mistakes.
Oh man, that's improv.
Say like, I think we need to put shading here.
If it's a tattoo where I'm gonna shade, I will start shading in that area.
Sometimes I'll just start shading a tattoo that wasn't supposed to be shaded, and then it looks even more dope.
Usually it's not really like a serious mistake or you're like completely going out of the line or something, but I'll just throw a little shading or like be like, hey, maybe we can put flowers here or something, I don't know.
Talk to the client, say everything's gonna be all right.
Don't let the client know, and then it usually works out.
Do you tell them?
Absolutely not.
I mean, the last thing you want to do is like be like, oh, f***.
9 times out of 10, you're able to fix a tattoo.
9 times out of 10, it's fixable.
9 times out of 10, you shouldn't make a mistake.
A lot of us, the misspelling, that's probably a typical one.
Well, I have a good one with misspelling.
The biggest mistake that I have made in the past giving a tattoo was not spell checking a word.
I mean, I think I've like misspelled one thing or two.
No, I never did the misspelling.
No.
I never did that, thank God.
Yeah.
That's a bad one. There's no way out of that one.
There's one where I caught it halfway through the letter, and it was one of those things you could convert. Like, if you f up and put an I somewhere and it's supposed to be like an E, that's an easy fix. You know, you don't want to like put an O somewhere where an I should be or something like.
It's kind of like, it's really similar letters, like patience.
Patience.
Perseverance is the word.
That's a rough one.
Your, and your.
Angels, blah, 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 and I forgot the S letter.
There was no C, so it was like Patian.
I spelled rehearsal wrong.
Michael was another one.
Something like that.
The A and the E, like.
I thought it was perseverance. It's perseverance. I will never forget this now.
I was like, man, I grew up poor. I've never had to go to rehearsal for anything, so.
He checked it in the mirror. He thought it was good. I checked it. He had a friend there. We all checked it. We were all great. And everything was dope. We did it. I thought I killed the tattoo. And then the next day, he showed it to his girlfriend. Like, check out the new tat I got. And she's like, that's misspelled.
I misspelled a tattoo on a friend of mine who was in Philly, but it was in a sleeve about doing drugs, and I feel like it was par for the course. Like, I think it kind of fit.
I told him that I would fix it for free, but he ended up moving to like out of town, and then I've never been able to fix it, so.
It was supposed to be like Daddy's little girl, and I had a typo. So it said G-I-L-R.
The first time I misspelled something, it was the word inoperable or something like that. And then it was in the middle of a paragraph, and the girl found out like 2 days later it was spelled wrong. And then she asked me what we could do about it. I'm like, it's inoperable. Can't do anything about it.
One time I misspelled bootylicious on a lower back. Oh my God. And it was so fun till her friend noticed we were all done already. And yeah, I saw her face change completely from laughing and being, yeah, terrible moment.
What's the biggest mistake you've made while tattooing?
I've made a mistake, but it wasn't like my fault per se.
This wasn't even my fault.
Before, I've tattooed over an existing tattoo on accident that was nearby and proceeded to feel like immediate afterward, and I fixed it.
How?
By incorporating it somehow into that tattoo. And that's a good answer.
If I've ever made a mistake during tattooing, it's because my client properly moved, and I tell them immediately.
It sounds crazy, but like, was it a ghost? Was it not a ghost? I don't know.
I had this one guy that I was tattooing his arm, and he made kind of like one of these over here. So I was tattooing over here, and the line literally just went out of the thing. But it was his fault in retrospect. But
she like randomly flung her arm, like abruptly, like for no reason. So my machine kind of went like that. Like it was not really fixable. I told her, and she's like, "Can I have a discount or something?" And I told her like, "No, you moved. Sorry."
Were you able to fix it?
He was like elderly, so like I put the stencil on him and he looks in the mirror and then he says that it's good, but it was actually backwards.
Statue of Liberty, when I first started, the guy wanted it on a certain arm, and of course the Statue of Liberty has the torch in one hand, so me not realizing, I flipped the image and put the torch on the wrong hand. So that was one pretty big mistake. That one I didn't fix either, no.
I was doing a Marilyn Monroe portrait, and I'm doing the portrait, and I get up to her famous mole, and I'm looking at the stencil, and I'm like, yeah, that's where the mole goes, and I put in the mole, and I keep talking my shit, and then I realize I put the mole in the wrong place, and like sweat starts pouring down my back.
So as I went to color at a shop that was presumably haunted, they say it was haunted, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, my hand just went, it just went, I was like, what the f just happened? And it was not really in the spot it was supposed to be. Luckily, it was in a spot where like, it could be, so I made it be, and it was black. So like, there's no going back from that. But it was just the most bizarre thing that has happened to me in a long time. Like out of nowhere, maybe I'm just getting old, maybe my hands just stopped working, but it went,
What's one of your biggest mistakes?
I don't know, actually. I just kind of go with it. If there is any mistakes, you just work around it and fix it.
You're never gonna not make mistakes, so knowing how to cover your own ass is like a really handy skill to have.
Mistakes do happen, like it happens. Sometimes it's the client moves, sometimes you could feel the vibration of someone's heavy foot on the floorboard while literally, I barely breathe while I'm tattooing. So anything can happen. You have to be able to fix your mistakes.
You just make it work. Or you make your style really wobbly on purpose, and then you can't f up because it always looks intentional.
We need to just be very thorough with checking, you know, we're working with permanent things here. Because when I do make those mistakes, you know, I'll feel so bad and I'm like, man, I quit tattooing, and I'll have my friends being like, oh, you know, it's not your fault, they had a chance to look at it and blah, blah, blah. But you know how excited you get when you're about to get tattooed? You don't even think about like how it looks or if it's reading right, you know, and that's why I think clients end up, you know, getting tattoos that they hadn't checked, you know, because they rely on us to do that.
If all else fails, you just blame them. Like, your skin is horrible, I don't know, but you need to get like genetically tested or something. You got something wrong with you. It's not healing right. It's your fault. I don't know how you took care of this.
Yeah.
There should be a name for that. What happened?
F***ing up. That's the name.
I don't think I've made a lot of mistakes when I've tattooed, but I've made mistakes in the projects I've agreed to. Like, I agreed to do a tantric erotic yoga pose tattoo that was like her husband and her, and that was pretty awkward because they were like both right next to each other and they kept like making out throughout the tattoo. And it was so awkward. It was like, she was like in the pose like downward dog. I think you can imagine like the kind of pose he was in, like beyond that. I think that was more of like the mistakes that I make versus like line work mistakes or like shading mistakes.
Did they like send you pictures of like
Yes.
what they wanted?
Yes.
Were they naked?
Yes. But when I did the tattoo, they said it was cool if I put like clothes on them, so like artistic license. Wow. Yeah, that was an awkward one.
Bootylicious.